Hello everybody. The new patch is finally here, so let's go ahead and see what is in it. This patch rundown. So first off, 6 unique items. Avarian Spear of Lycander, gain a random shrine effect for 10 to 20 seconds after killing an elite enemy. Can only occur once every 30 seconds. That is hilarious. That's pretty sweet. Azura Wrath, your core skills have up to a 20% chance to freeze enemies for 3 seconds and deal 0.75 to 1.5 cold damage to them. Okay, that's actually kind of cool. Debilitating Roar and Bloodhowl, deal 0.5 to 0.1 damage to nearby poisoned enemies. It's a one-handed mace. I have no clue how that's going to play out, but the Barbarian and the General one seem kind of fun. I do think that those, and that's just unique swords, so that's actually pretty interesting for the Barbarian. Interesting. But it is a cold thing, right? And it's for the Barbarian, so that's kind of odd. Lidless Wall. While you have an active Bone Storm, hitting an enemy outside of Bone Storm has up to a 5 to 25% chance to spawn an additional Bone Storm at their location. Each of your active sacrifice bonuses increases the chance by 25%. The total number of additional Bone Storms you can have by +1. Oh my god, that is actually crazy. I think there's going to be a absolutely wild Bone Storm build has to come out of that. Eagle Horn. Penetrating shot has a 30 to 80% chance to fire an arrow that bounces off walls and scenery. Hitting enemies from behind with penetrating shot will make them vulnerable for 3 seconds. Okay, that's actually kind of cool. I don't know what the stats are going to look like on it, so I don't know how good it's going to be or if it's going to have a place inside of the penetrating shot build, but that is an interesting bow for sure, especially considering it makes things vulnerable. Sorceress the Oculus, gain the effect of the teleport enchantment for free. When you evade using the teleport enchantment, you are taken to a random location. I don't know. That's interesting, but yeah. Alright, 7 new aspects. General Audacity. When there are at least 5 close enemies, stun them for 2 to 4 seconds. This can only occur once every 20 seconds. Craven. You gain 20 to 40% increased movement speed when moving away from slowed or chilled enemies. So that's pretty good for the Sorcerer, actually, especially like a Blizzard build and the Ice Shards builds. That's going to speed them up quite a bit. Ancestral Charge. Charge calls forth 4 Ancients who also charge, dealing 50 to 100% normal damage. That's cool. Subterranean. Poison Creepers active now also cast Landslide in a circle around you. Earth skills deal 10 to 20% increased poison damage to poison enemies. So this is pretty cool because if you run something like Vassal's Prayer with it, you can actually also run Changeling's Debt, and that'll make it to where when you activate Poison Creeper, it will simultaneously also set off a bomb. It'll also simultaneously set off a bomb with the Changeling's Debt, so you could do a pretty intense like Earth Werebear / Earth Poison build, Poison Creeper build now with this. I think that's actually going to be pretty good, especially when you consider like it's for speed stuff. Next we have Necromancer Gore Quills, offensive aspect. Blood Lance will consume blood orbs to also conjure lances from them. Each additional Blood Lance deals 20 to 50% of the normal damage and prioritizes targeting unlanced enemies. That is interesting, right, for the Blood Lance build, right? Because you think about it, you just pick up Blood Lords and it starts lancing things. That could make for an interesting build for sure. Rogue Pestilent points. Every third cast of Puncture is poison imbued with 100 to 150% of normal potency. I don't know if this is that great because it's buffing a basic skill, but I mean, I don't know. Applying the poison could potentially be good, so I don't know, that could be good, but meh. Then we have Sorcerer Searing Wards. After spending 200 to 100 mana, your next firewall is free to cast and will destroy incoming small missiles. I have no idea. It's offensive. I'm not sure if that'll be used, but that seems kind of interesting. Destroy small. Interesting. So, bug fixes, whatever. Cooperative play, dungeons, okay. Gameplay. Fix an issue with the numbers. Barbarian class. Looks like there's a bunch of bug fixes in here. Fix an issue, seeking tornadoes, yada yada. I'm more interested in the balance changes, so these are just all bug fixes. Holy smokes, bug fix. Oh my god, that is insane. Loading screen updates. We've added more dynamic loading screens. Okay, gameplay updates. Altars both unlocks are now account wide. Map discovery is now account wide. That is fucking amazing. Oh my god, so now you don't have to rediscover the map on your alts. Amazing, awesome. Whispers will no longer require no longer reward sigil dust. Alright. Overall loot quality has been significantly improved for silent chests. Okay, that's cool. So it makes silent chests a little bit more. Channel time to leave a dungeon has been increased from 3 to 5 seconds. Okay, that's whatever. We have generally reduced the tendency for many monsters to move around in combat so that melee characters don't have to chase down their enemies as much. Oh, so that's interesting. So certain monsters are just going to stand still more? Okay. World Tier 2 has had the following bonuses added. Bonus gold increased from 15 to 20%. Monsters now drop 15% more items. Okay, that's pretty good because right now people are leveling in World Tier 1. So I think that that gives a little bit more incentive. I don't know if it's going to be enough to justify leveling in World Tier 2, but that is something, right? Like, monsters now dropping 15% more items. When you think about, people are doing like the Onyx hold runs right now. It's kind of like the meta. That's going to be pretty interesting to see if, how 15% stacks up when you're constantly running Onyx hold. So I don't know. Maybe it will be worth it for drops, but we'll see. So level scaling inside dungeons in most overworld territories has been adjusted in 3 and 4 and will begin to trail behind the player in level after a certain point, up to a maximum of 5 levels behind. This changed. Okay, so if the player's level is below 55, the monster's level is 55. If the player's level is 56 to 60, the monster's level is 55. If it's 61, the monster's level is 61. So if the player's level is 62, the monster's level from this point, the monsters will always be -5 until World Tier 3's max monster level of 70. That's weird. So that's what? Wait, am I reading this right? That's massive, because if you're not fighting things, or at least 3 levels ahead of you, that means that you're not getting the extra EXP. So that means since it doesn't look like it's going to change the stronghold levels, because this is just like basic overworld stuff, right? It says world bosses legions. This does not affect world bosses legion events or Helltide or nightmare dungeons. But so for a normal dungeon now, it's going to be easier for you to do it. So like if you're level 1, right? So if the player's levels, so that's for World Tier 3. Never mind. Okay. It says level scaling, so it didn't change for 2 and 2, or for 1 and 2, so that's actually not that big of a deal. But for World Tier 3, that is interesting. So that is interesting. So it's gonna trail behind you. So okay. So this is a good change, because people said that the scaling was stealing their power. So now the level scaling is no longer going to steal your power, and your builds are going to actually be better longer. So if you're playing your build just in base overworld stuff, non-nightmare dungeon stuff, you're going to be able to play virtually any build you want now, because you're always going to be 5 levels ahead. So that's pretty sweet. I actually kind of like that change. The only thing is when it comes to leveling, that now incentivizes you to do nightmare dungeons even more, because you're not going to be able to. Everything's going to be 5 levels ahead of you. So like if you were to go in and do like Champions Demise runs and constantly spam that stuff in World Tier 3, well, unfortunately that's not really going to work anymore, and it's probably going to be pretty inefficient, because everything's going to be 5 levels below you, unless you like set it up right and like did it at certain levels, right? But it'd make it much more difficult and much less effective, in my opinion. So I think nightmare dungeons are the go-to. So the player's levels, so same thing for World Tier 4. Experience, right? Reward experience for completing Whispers in World Tiers 3 and 4 has been significantly increased. Alright, we are adjusting bonus rewards for killing monsters that are a higher level than the player. Okay. Let's see, 3+ levels higher, 25%. Pre-season of the Malignant bonuses, post-season, so 10 levels plus 15, 1.5% per level, up to 10. We're adjusting bonuses for rewards for killing monsters that are higher level than the player. 1 level higher, plus 15, 20, 25. Now it's 1. Oh, wow. So that's massive, actually. So now, like, doing the strongholds are not going to net, like, some type of crazy extra EXP gain. They're still probably going to be pretty efficient to run, but that's pretty big, actually, because it kind of makes it to where like it doesn't really matter like what level of key you run now, because I mean you go up to 10 levels and you get 15%. That's like that's just so, it's so negligible, I guess, right? Like because like having to do something 10 levels to get the max, like you'd have to run like the strongest builds, and even then it's only for like 15%, so like it's just not even a big deal now. Maybe that was to change people kind of going through the meta of always fighting things that are 3 levels higher than you, but that's okay. We're also adjusting rewards for monster level offsets for higher world tiers. I think it's set up here that it also significantly increased whispers in world tiers 3 and 4 for the experience for completing whispers in 3 and 4, if I didn't mention that. So that's actually pretty good. Alright, so we're also adjusting experience rewards for monster level offsets for higher world tiers. Current world tier level offsets, world tier 2 up to 3. World tier, for monster level offsets for higher world tiers. Okay. So current world tier level offsets, world tier 3 up to 10, world tier 4 up to 100. Okay. You're level 1, your friends bring you into world tier 4 and leave you at the entrance of the dungeon. They start killing level 100 monsters. Prior to Season of the Malignant, you get level 100 monster EXP times... Oh, they nerfed power leveling. Power leveling is destroyed. Level 11 monster EXP times 1 plus 15%. Power leveling is gone. Oh my god. They are okay. Okay. Okay, I guess. Okay. That's crazy. That is wild. So they totally gutted power leveling. Okay, that's fine though. It's whatever. Helltide monsters now 3 levels higher than the player instead of 2. Sick. Doesn't really matter anymore because they changed EXP, so you're only getting like 6% now for doing extra EXP for doing Helltides. Tortured Mystery has had its cost increased to 250 from 175. This is probably because everybody was just only doing the mysteries, so this is potentially going to make it more difficult to get, and it's going to probably stop the meta of people just perma going only after the mystery chest. But okay, that's interesting. Okay, so that's cool too. So balance updates, here we go. So let's start with I'm going to start with the Druid, actually, because that's the one I'm most interested in, and then I'll go back to the Barb. So enhanced claw attack speed bonus increased from 10 to 15. Storm strike damage reduction reduced. Okay, that is necessary. I know people are going to hate that, but that's necessary. Storm strike way outperformed everything else. So, okay, boulder damage increased from 33 to 46%. Savage trample spirit gain increased from 20 to 40. Okay, prime lacerate healing increased from 3 to 5. Cataclysm lightning damage increased from 64 to 77%, and tornado from 19 to 23. Let's see, supreme cataclysm vulnerable duration increased from 2 to 3 seconds. Prime cataclysm duration increased from 2 to 4 seconds. Okay, that's pretty cool. Oh, this is massive. Primal Grizzly Rage now grants Unstoppable for 6 seconds instead of while active. That's a huge nerf to the Unstoppable part of Grizzly Rage. That's massive. I don't know why they would do that, because the only way that we get Unstoppable is through Earthen Bulwark, so that seems kind of dumb, but that's so big. That's so big. Alright, so now like people can, so, oh man, that's just so, that's so big, because like everybody you have to have Unstoppable, right? So now like when you think about the Druid, like the Were Druid or the Tornado Werewolf Druid is no longer just going to have perma Unstoppable, right? Whereas it's not as big of an issue for the Werebear stuff, because if you have Vasilies, you can just run Earthen Bulwark inside of the Werebear, or I guess the regular Grizzly Rage. But like that's a big nerf to any like just werewolf Grizzly Rage build. Like that's huge, because I don't know how you get access to Unstoppable then. Like you just don't have access to it. It's just plain and simple, which is pretty bad actually. I'm not sure I agree with that, but then again, I don't know. I also don't like the aspect of the Rampaging Bearbeast anyway, so I think that's kind of I think that's what needed to be nerfed, and they just nerfed the Unstoppable aspect. Oh my god, dude, the community's going to be an uproar over that. I can just see it now. Alright, passives. Provocation threshold required for guaranteed overpower reduced from 35, 30, 25, 24, 20, 16. That's pretty cool. Masochistic now also requires a lucky hit chance of 75%. Nerfing Masochistic, that makes sense. It was pretty ridiculous. Prickle Skin Thorns increased from 0.1 to 1.5. Iron Feather Max Life increased from 10 to 14%. Bolster Fortified 10 to 15. Overload damage from 20 to 25. I like that, actually. I think that's cool. I think Masochistic was taken way too much over everything else, and I think the goal was to let's see. I guess the goal is to I think they want people to be able to take whatever they want. They don't want it to be like that, like just take Masochistic, right? Because that's kind of what it was. You know, you take Masochistic, you take like the one that reduces the ult, and yada yada. Okay. So anyway, Paragon Spirit Glyphs bonus now affects all damage instead of just core skills. Absolutely massive. That's huge. So if you don't know what Spirit does, it increases your critical strike damage of whatever. It increases your critical strike damage of any skill now. It used to just do core skills. Now it does all skills. That's massive for builds. Like, that's huge. That is giving access to a, like, I think it goes up to like 97% whenever you get like everything maxed out on it. So 97% critical strike damage to any of your skills now. Massive. That's huge. Absolutely massive. Okay. Aspect of the Calm Breeze. Ooh, I'm not seeing what I wanted to see in here. Oh, Jesus. Okay, so Aspect of the Calm Breeze, lucky hit chance increased from 5 to 10% to 7 to 12%. Alright, that's... Alright, Balanced Aspect, Maximum Spirit increased from 30 to 50 to 60 to 80. Aspect of the Tempest damage bonus increased from 7 to 15 to 10 to 18. Skinwalker's Aspect healing from 0.1 to 1 to 0.7 to 12. Okay, Symbiotic Aspect cooldown reduction from 4 to 8 to 3 to 5. And Aspect of the Stampede damage bonus increased from 10 to 20 to 16 to 26. That is not enough. Shepherd's damage bonus increased from 6 to 8 to 6 to 10. Oh, that's okay. So literally the build that I'm going to be doing for leveling just got buffed. I was going to be doing companion stuff anyway, so that actually just got buffed. Because if you don't know, a 2% increase like this, because what Shepherd's reads is for every active companion you have out, it gives you this percent more damage, right? You can get up to 9 companions out. So really, 9 times 2, that's an 18% damage increase when it comes to Shepherds in general, on top of 6% for the Stampede, which increases your companion skill damage by an extra 6%. So that means you're effectively getting, like, what's that, 24%? You're getting like 24% extra damage to, you're getting 6% damage to your companion skills, and you're getting 18% to your core skills, because Shepherd's only does core skills. Insatiable Fury's Werebear skill ranks increase from 2 to 3, Mad Wolf's Glee from 2 to 3. Okay, that's cool, but that's not enough. They need to fix the secondaries to make that more usable. However, it's not that big of a deal, because you can use Insatiable Fury and Mad Wolf's Glee very much easily in like lower levels, and like you could use it in some builds. Like you could use it for like Uber Lilith and stuff like that. It's just when you try to push 100s that you can't really use them. But big issue here, they did not nerf Aspect of the Rampaging Werebeast. So Grizzly Rage meta is, they did do an interesting nerf though. That's kind of throwing a wrench in my thoughts. It's because Prime Grizzly Rage now grants Unstoppable for 6 seconds instead of while active. So this is, it's gonna make it so hard to play like the werewolf version. Like, and the werewolf builds were the ones that were kind of taking over with the storm stuff. So now it's like you're having to choose between damage or getting unstoppable. So this really is interesting, right? This really is interesting. I don't know how much it's going to affect things, but I will say this: the highest damage builds are still going to be Grizzly Rage, because they did not nerf Aspect of the Rampaging Werebeast, and that was what was causing the 2 billion damage builds. If you were not aware, it's because it gives a stacking crit damage buff that applies to everything, and if anything, they probably just made it worse because they made Spirit now apply to everything instead of just core skills. So now the Grizzly Rage builds in terms of damage are going to be a little bit stronger, because, like, for example, if you're using like poison or something like that, right? like Toxic Claws or something. I think that's going to increase the damage of that. Well, actually, I don't know. Well, but what I do know is they didn't nerf aspect to the Rampaging Werebeast, so yikes. They also did not buff Companions all that much, so I'm not expecting Companions to be crazy good. They're going to be used the exact same way they were probably used before, unless Malignant Hearts changes something. Unfortunately, but that's okay. Let's go on to the Barbarian. Violent Double Swing, vulnerable damage increase from 1 to 2. Furious Upheaval, bonus damage per stack 3 to 5. That's actually pretty good, because Upheaval, that's going to make it more in line with Hoda, because Hoda's been kind of overtaking Upheaval, and the only reason is because the passive just does more damage on Hoda. So this going up to 5, I don't think it's going to make it as good as Hoda still, but it is going to help it a little bit, because there are some uniques that also go with Upheaval, and there's not really any uniques that go with Hoda, so it could potentially balance it out and actually make it similar. I don't know, maybe. Power Charge cooldown now capped to 3 targets for a maximum of 9 seconds cooldown reduction. Tactical Stomp, Fury increase from 25 to 40, that's pretty good. Enhanced Death Blow damage bonuses from bosses 100 to 150%, so Death Blow getting buffed. Enhanced Steel Grasp, vulnerable duration increased by 0.5 seconds. Enhanced Rupture damage 30 to 45%. Warrior's Rupture attack speed bonus, okay, that's pretty interesting, the fact they're buffing 2 different things for Rupture. That might Fighter's Rupture healing increase, so they're making Rupture quite a bit better, it looks like. That's pretty big buffs. Maybe see a uptick in Rupture stuff. So Hamstring now only slows healthy enemies, and the slow amount increased from 10. Okay, interesting. Cut to the Bone, bleeding damage bonus to vulnerable enemies reduced. Alright, not that big of a deal. Wrath Glyphs bonus now affects all damage to, I'm assuming Wrath was another like critical strike damage buff, so that's pretty cool. Relentless Berserker's aspect, Berserking duration increased from 1 to 2 seconds. Battle Mad aspect, Berserking duration. So it looks like, okay, so Berserking duration's increased. Aspect of Burning Rage damage increased. Aspect of the Iron Warge damage reduction increased. Okay. Brawler's aspect damage increased. Slaking aspect, lucky hit chance increased. Okay. Aspect of Ancestral Echoes, have some lucky hit chance increase. Okay. Gore's Devastating Grips now explodes every 2 seconds or after it ends, and its hit cap has been removed. Huh. I have no idea how that's going to change things, but that is interesting, because Gore's Devastating Grips is ran in the Whirlwind build, so I have no clue if that is a nerf or a buff. Someone's going to have to let me know, because I do not know. Fields of Crimson bleeding damage bonus from 10 to 15%. Okay, that's cool. Looks like some bleed damage buffs got to happen here. Got a Necromancer. Whoa, where is my computer going? Initiates Decompose Slow, increase from 30 to 50%. Paranormal Sever cast required for vulnerable, reduced from 4 to 3. Enhanced Blood Surge healing, increase from... Okay, ooh, reduced. Enhanced Blood Lance damage reduction for piercing, reduced from... Okay, Bone Prison initial essence gained, increased. Abhorrent Iron Maiden, healing increased. Golems move faster and unhindered through enemies when their cooldown is activated. Okay, Supreme Blood Wave leaves behind Blood Orbs earlier in its path. That's kind of interesting, because there is some Blood Orb builds going on right now. Ray Skeleton, Corpse Explosion, and Corpse Tendrils range for auto-targeting increased by 50%. Interesting. So that's going to make it easier to cast Corpse Explosion and Corpse Tendrils, I think is what this is saying. Because I know there's times when I press like Corpse Tendrils and it just doesn't go off for some reason. But now it'll make it to where the range for auto-targeting is increased, so it should automatically... Okay, so it should just make it smoother to cast it. That's cool. Raise Skeletal Priest bonus damage increase from 20-30%. Raise Skeletal Priest healing. Okay. Alright. Evulsion bonus damage to vulnerable reduced. Okay. Transfusion minion healing increase from 15, 30, 45, 20 to 40, 60. Okay, that's okay. So they're trying to make minions a little bit more healier, I guess. Drain vitality. That's good because minions kind of suck right now, so that's not bad. Drain vitality. Lucky hit chance increased from 25 to 30%. Amplified damage increased from 369 to 4812. Book of the Dead. Necromancer minions will now automatically resummon after respawning during... Oh, World boss fight. Okay. Skeletal warriors, defenders upgrade, inherit increase from 40 to 50. Shadow skeleton mage upgrade, attacks required reduced from 5 to 4. Up fortify amount increased from 11 to 20. And iron slam attack reduced from 5 to 4. Okay. So overall, just a bunch of buffs to minions. So that's pretty cool. Maybe that'll help out the minion builds do better. I don't know if it's enough, but it's a start for sure. Essence glyphs bonus now affects all damage to core skills. I think they're just taking the critical strike damage buff for like all of them and just making it affect everything. Aspects, splintering aspect, bone charge damage bonus from 50 to 100 to 30, 60. Huge actually. Huge. Aspect of plunging darkness bonus damage 50 to 100 to 75 to 125. Okay, that's pretty interesting. Coldbreaker's aspect, blizzard cooldown reduced from 10 to 8. Aspect of hungry blood, chance to fire increased from 10 to 20 to 13 to 30. Blood soaked aspect damage increased. Okay. Aspect of ultimate shadow damage increased. Okay. Kind of buffs to Shadow Mist here. The Infinimus build. Aspect of grasping veins. Critical strike damage bonus reduced from 30 to 60 to 20 to 40. Okay, that makes sense because that is a multiplicative bonus if you were not aware. So that was a mess. That's actually a huge nerf. Let's see. Osseous Gale aspect bonus bone storm duration increased from 4 to 8 to 5 to 10 seconds. Aspect of the damned damage bonus from 30 to 40, 40 to 50. Bloodbathed aspect echo damage reduction from 70 to 60 to 60 to 50. Okay, that's kind of cool. And then aspect of reanimation skeletons damage bonus increased from 20 to 30 to 30 to 40%. Alright, okay. And then items. Bloodless Scream essence gained 2 to 5, 7 to 10. Nice. Deathless Visage damage increase from 0.25 to 3.5 to 0.28 to 3.8. So just a bunch of buffs, I guess, to... Interesting. I don't know how this is going to pan out. And I don't see anything in here that's jumping out at me as like crazy, aside from just there's a lot like Grasping Veins is just getting nerfed. That's ran in almost every single build. That's just a huge nerf, just an overall damage nerf, I guess, to a few different Necromancer builds. And a bunch of buffs to minions, so expect minions to maybe actually be a little bit better in this Malignant season. Alright, let's see here. Advanced Rapid Fire duration increased from 3 to 5. Rapid Fire buffs, nice. Caltrops cast speed increased. And Cold Imbue Lucky Hit Chance increased. That's pretty cool. Enhanced Smoke Grenade damage bonus from 15 to 20. Methodical Dash, maximum cooldown reduction increased from 3 to 4. Concealment Stealth duration increased from 4 to 5. Enhanced Dark Shrouds chance to not be consumed from 10 to 14. That's actually pretty cool. That's a pretty good defensive one because a lot of people run that Dark Shroud one where it like runs Dark Shroud. So that's actually pretty cool. Supreme Death Trap cooldown reduction increased from 10 to 12 seconds. Okay. So a lot of buffs for a lot of different rogue builds. And I'm not really even seeing a nerf here. So that's pretty cool actually. It just kind of buffs for rogue in general. Victimize Lucky Hit Chance increased. Siphoning Strikes now also require... Okay, so Siphoning Strikes is getting nerfed by making it a Lucky Hit Chance thing. Rugged damage reduction against damage over timer effects increased. Okay, Mending Obscurity increased. So yeah, just more buffs, I guess. Combat Glyphs now affects all damage that is core skills. Eldritch Bounty Legendary node duration increased from 6 to 9 seconds. Okay, Preparation's ultimate cooldown reduction increased from 4 to 5. Aspect of Volatile Shadows damage increased. Increased. Wow, okay, so they're just getting buffed. Like, Rogue is just kind of hard buffed here. Icy Alchemist aspect chill increased from 15 to 25. Shadow Sliker aspect damage 25 to 35 to 80 to 100. Okay, that's huge. I don't know. Okay, that's a big damage increase. 25 to 35 to 80 to 100. That's massive. Toxic Alchemist damage increased from 0.8 to 0.13 to 0.11 to 0.16. Okay. Toxic Alchemist damage increase. Okay. Vengeful aspect Lucky Hit Chance increased. Aspect of imitated imbuements duration increased from 5 to 9. Like, these are actually some pretty decent buffs. Like, whatever aspect of imitated imbuements does, going from 5 to 9, like aspect of lethal dusk life on kill duration increased from 4 to 6. Like, there's some pretty big buffs here. 10 to 25, 14 to 29, 1 to 5, 3 to 7. Like, yeah, so a lot of buffs here. Items Sky Hunter's energy gain increased from 15 to 25 to 20 to 30. Grasp of Shadow lucky hit chance 20 to 30, 24 to 34. So really just buffs. I think I saw one nerf, Siphoning Strike, this one, where it added a lucky hit chance to it. So one nerf to Rogue. Overall buffs. Nice. Good. Alright, so Sorcerer. Enhanced charged bolts damage increased from 24 to 30%. Destructive charged bolts damage reduction increased from 20 to 25%. Okay, that's pretty good that they're increasing damage reduction, because right now sorcerers have to use like 4 different defensives apparently. So any survivability buffs are really good. Destructive incinerate damage reduction increased from 20. Okay, Ice Blades cast Cleanup has been tightened, allowing players to act after it's cast sooner. Fireball's initial damage increase 10 to 18. That's like almost double, by the way. Her Firebolt's initial damage increase. That's pretty good. Wizard's Firewall maximum increased mana regen increased from 25 to 35. Wizard's Blizzard core skill mana cost reduction increased from 10 to 20%. Supreme Deep Freeze cooldown reduction increased from 50 to 100%. Elemental Dominance now also affects mastery skills instead of just core skills. Potent Warding duration increased from 3 to 9. Protection Barrier duration increased from 2 to 3. Align the Elements damage reduction increased from 1, 2, 3 to 3, 6, 9. They tripled it. Wow. Mana Shield damage reduction increased from 5, 10, 15, 7. Wow, a lot of damage reduction increases here. This is really good, because if it's enough, I can't tell you if it's enough, but if it's enough, it could potentially solve the issues with Sorcerer. So if you're thinking about starting a Sorcerer, they are getting damage reduction buffs, so they might not have to run 4 defensives now. Because, I mean, this is a lot of little things that could potentially add up to remove an ability, so you can run something else. Devouring Blaze, because you have to remember Malignant Hearts too, also going to add defense, so I think Sorcerer is looking a lot better now. Devouring Blaze bonus critical strike damage reduced from 20 to 30 to... Okay, so that's a nerf. Devouring Blaze bonus critical to immobilize... Why are they nerfing damage? What? 25, 50, 75 to 10, 20... What? Devouring... Why are they nerfing this? Fiery Surge mana regen increased. Why are they nerfing the... There's no good... Like, what? I don't know if I agree with any damage nerfs to the Sorcerer. Destruction Glyph now affects everything. So again, I think that's just the critical strike damage thing. I think they're just making that affect all skills instead of just core skills. Spark Enchantment. Chance to form crackling energy increased from 10 to 14%. Frozen Orb Enchantment. Chance to be cast increased from 20 to 30%. Incinerate Enchantment cooldown reduced from 18 to 14. Hydra Enchantment mana threshold reduced from 300 to 200. Okay, that's pretty good actually. Aspect of Efficiency mana cost reduction. Okay, that's a buff. Aspect of Armageddon damage increase. That's pretty cool, because I think that was for... I think both of these are the Meteor legendaries, so having those increase is pretty cool. I like that because I like playing Meteor, but it's not that great right now. Aspect of Serpentine Aspect, Hydra duration reduction reduced from 30 to 20 to 20 to 10. Okay. Glacial Aspect spikes bonus damage to Frozen reduced. Okay. Glacial Aspect Ice spikes damage from increased. Okay. So they reduced the bonus damage to Frozen, but increased its just regular damage. Okay, that's cool. Aspect of the Frozen Tundra Ice spikes damage increased from that, from 0.25 to 3 to 4. Okay. Aspect of the Frozen Wake Ice spikes damage increased from 2 to 3 to 0.25 to 3 or to 0.35. Okay, not bad. So looks like Ice spikes damage is getting increased overall. Aspect of Biting Cold, chance to apply vulnerable to frozen enemies increased from 25 to 35. So better access to vulnerable with that. That's cool. Enhanced Aspect of Life. And mana restore per second increased from 10 to 20 to 20 to 30. That's pretty cool. Stable Aspect, chance for a free cast. from 5 to 10 to 7 to 12. Aspect of splintering energy, chance to respawn an additional lightning spear, increased from 11 to 20 to 41 to 50. Whoa, that's kind of crazy. That's pretty cool though. That's a big buff to that. Aspect of the Unbroken Tether, chance for additional chain lightning change, increased from 25 to 35 to 30 to 40. Cool. Fireball damage reduction reduced from 65 to 75 to 55 to 65. That's pretty cool. Isu's Heirloom critical strike chance from move speed increased. Okay, so more move speed on that. Isadora's Overflowing Cameo, chance to release a lightning nova, increased from 10 to 15%. So overall, pretty good changes. A lot of survivability changes to the sorcerers. That's what they needed. I don't know if it'll fix everything, but still pretty freaking sweet. Alright, aspects for general. Aspect of Disobedience. Maximum stacks reduced from 100 to 60, reducing the maximum bonus armor from 25 to 50 to 15 to 30. Ooh, that's a big nerf. That's a big nerf. That's a... Man, they just buffed all these things for the Sorcerer, and then they nerfed Disobedience? Did Sorcerers even run Disobedience? I don't know, but that's a big deal. I know I do it on the I know I run it on my Druid, so that sucks. This sucks. They also, and not only that, they also removed Perma Unstoppable from Grizzly Rage. So like, wow. Druid defenses taking a hit unless Malignant Hearts fix it. Aspect of Retributions, bonus damage to stun, 20 to 40, reduced. Okay. Exploiter's Aspect, bonus damage to Unstoppable, reduced. Starlight Aspect, restore increase from 10 to 20 to 20 to 40. That's kind of cool. That might make this really, really useful. Okay, moving on. Items. Butcher's Cleaver slow increased. Yeah, no one's using Butcher's Cleaver still. Drop rate adjustments. Increase bonus to drop ancestral and sacred items in Nightmare Dungeons from 5 to 10%. Removed a 20% chance to drop an extra equipment item from elite monsters outside of Nightmare Dungeons and Helltide. Increased chance. Okay, so if they're removing chances to drop extra equipment items from elite monsters outside of Nightmare Dungeons and Helltides, that's kind of a big nerf to just general overworld farming. So, increased chance to drop an extra equipment item from elites by 10%. Oh, okay. So they're just focusing more on Nightmare Dungeons and Helltides to get your gear. Nightmare Dungeons now have a 50% chance to drop a second legendary item upon completion. Massive. Nightmare Dungeons now give 3 rare items upon completion, up from 1. That is huge. This is big. 50% chance to get 2 legendaries every Nightmare Dungeon completion. That's huge, especially when it comes to farming legendaries. I'm assuming it also means uniques as well, because you know, if it drops a legendary, why would it also not drop a unique? So that's gonna, like, that's massive, huge. That's huge buff for people that are trying to put builds together and are doing Nightmare Dungeons. Huge, huge, huge. You shouldn't have to farm as much now to find your aspects. Monsters. Increase monster HP scaling from 85 to 100% bonus per extra player in the party. Okay. Oh, okay, that's interesting. So they increase the health of things when you have more people. Nice. Miscellaneous adjusted the scaling of Greed Shrine to improve its effectiveness throughout the game. World bosses now drop potions more often. There is no longer a limit to how many materials you can refine into higher materials at once. That's pretty cool. And they drop potions more often on the world bosses. That's going to make it easier to do world bosses at lower levels, which is pretty nice. Okay. So, many affixes are too efficient and are outshining alternatives. We're looking to refine the outliers, improve the number of meaningful choices on competitive slots. Okay, so they're going to... So, control impaired damage or duration reduction can now appear on pants. Barrier generation can now appear for all classes. It will also begin dropping later in the game. Lucky hit chance while you have a barrier can now appear for all classes, reduced by 12% when on helm and 20% when on amulet or offhand. Okay, that's actually interesting, because if you run like perma barriers, right, on certain classes that didn't have this before, that could be a pretty big lucky hit chance boost. Like, that's actually, that's pretty that could be potentially be pretty relevant for some classes and some builds. Mastery skill damage newly added can appear on sorcerer weapons. Scales identically to core skill damage. Interesting. That's pretty sweet, because here's the thing, right, with Sorcerer. So now, since that critical strike damage buff can apply to everything instead of just core skills, that means things like Meteor, like you're now going to have the choice probably of like doing either core skills or doing a mastery skill, right, is your main thing. So this is kind of buffing Meteor. This is kind of buffing like Meteor and just kind of off stuff like that, I would say, by having these changes, which is pretty sweet. Strength. Okay, so the core stat bonus on weapons has been overperforming, so we're pulling back on this bonus. So strength 50% stronger when on weapons, down to 25% when on weapons. Okay. Cooldown reduction affixes often felt mandatory due to their raw power. We imagine cooldown reduction will remain a highly desirable stat, but the penalty for not prioritizing it won't be as harsh. Cooldown reduction, wait, what? Reduced by 30%. Imbuement skill cooldown reduction, reduced trap skill cooldown. So they're just reducing cooldown reduction by 30%? Wait, what? I don't understand. Cool. What does that mean? I'm trying to think of what they mean when they say cooldown reduction reduced by 30%. So I'm assuming they're just nerfing all cooldown reduction? That's really all I can say. We're seeing critical strike damage and vulnerable damage often viewed as a hard requirement for a build success in Diablo 4. We believe this is a step towards allowing more builds to flourish, and will continue to make changes in support of this goal. Okay, critical strike damage reduced by 17%. Lightning critical strike reduced by 17%. Critical strike damage with bone, earth, imbued, and where reduced by vulnerable reduced by 40%. Wow. Okay, that's going to change stat priorities by quite a bit. It might actually be good to stack the additives potentially. 40% vulnerable damage reduction. That's crazy. That's a lot. That's a lot. Okay. So disparities in inherent affixes can rule some weapons out before the rest of their stats are even rolled. These are receiving harsher reductions than their normal affix counterparts to increase weapon flexibility. Cooldown reduction inherent on offhands reduced by... Wow! Vulnerable damage inherent on crossbows reduced by 65%. Critical strike damage inherent on swords reduced by 50%. Wow! Dude, Grandfather just took a nerf to the face. Because it did like 100% increased crit on a two-handed sword. Now it's going to do 50%? Wow. That's huge damage nerfs. My gosh. Damage bonus to crowd controlled enemies was overperforming relative to the ease of activating it versus stricter crowd control type specific affixes. Damage to crowd controlled enemies decreased by 30%. Damage to frozen enemies increased by 20%. Okay. So, we have seen that skillful players are frequently slaughtering monsters many levels above their own. We want to support this, but the current situation is beyond what we believe is correct for the long-term health of the game. We're shifting power to many offensive affixes from defensive affixes. We know this will make our in-game content more deadly, particularly for those changing our pinnacle boss. An encounter not meant for the faint of heart. Overcoming the pit will take every ounce of grit you can muster and all the tools at your disposal. Oh, so they just nerfed every single additive bonus by 25% while simultaneously nerfing crit and vulnerable. Nice. Okay, and they also total armor nerfed. Okay, hold on a second here. So shadow damage over time. Hold on, are they nerfing? Damage reduction from close 20. Oh no, they're nerfing, so no. Damage reduction from close distant. This is all stuff I use. Damage reduction while fortified nerf. Damage reduction from enemies. Wow, they are really hitting. Wow. Yeah, never mind. Sorry, sorcerers. You're still gonna be using 4 abilities on your bar. Sorry. Well, that's it for the patch notes, though. So they nerfed all of the damage reduction. Wow. Just astronomical changes. My gosh, guys. Okay. They didn't even nerf Rampaging Werebeast. Wow. Okay. Well, these are the patch notes, though. So, I mean, there's really there's really not a lot to be said. Let me know what you think in the comments below, though, about these patch notes. I am genuinely curious to see what your guys' thoughts are. The damage reduction nerfs, I think, are going to be harsh. Now, there is going to be malignant power buffs, so maybe it's not going to be as harsh as I think. And I mean, a 20% decrease of, like, so damage reduction from distant can go up to, like, what, 26%? So now that's going to take it down to, like, 20% or something, like 23%. So it is, like, I know it seems minor, but when you factor that across like 4 stats, you're losing like a lot of damage reduction. So like when you factor it across all your gear, even though it's like maybe a 3 to 5% decrease on each of these stats, it just stacks to where it's like 15% off your chest piece, 15% off your legs, another like what they said, they nerfed armor by 30, so like if you could roll 10% increased total armor, now you can get 7% increased total armor. They also nerfed aspect of disobedience massively, so oh my gosh, I don't even know what to say about that. Just insanely huge damage reduction nerfs. Wow. But secondary additive bonuses got buffed, so you might not need to just totally roll, you know, vulnerable and critical strike damage anymore. But anyways, that's the patch notes. Thanks for watching, guys. Like, subscribe if you want to see more, and I will see you next time. Thanks for watching.